So let us now look at the very last statement in this first chapter. If you remember, this first chapter, all the Vajra statements here are organized under this title called the vital points, the key points, right? The important points pertaining to the Buddha's turnings of the wheel of Dharma. Sometimes it's translated and sometimes even expressed as there being different wheels that he's turning. And sometimes it's called the turning of the wheels, at least in English, plural, the wheels of Dharma. I think a more accurate understanding is the Dharma wheel is one. It was turned 3 times. As in, there are 3 major divisions, if you want to call it that, to the teachings of the Buddha. Now, even that, Kyopa is going to say, as you should not be surprised by now. Kyopa will say, actually, even that notion that the Buddha would turn the Dharma wheel 3 times, meaning that the teachings of the Buddha are divided into 3 general groups or categories. He would emphasize that actually the Dharma is only one. That there are 3 has to do with that beings have different, beings go through stages of development in their spiritual awakening, in their spiritual maturity, so that then, from that perspective, you can say that there are 3 levels. But insofar as the Dharma to be realized, it's only one Dharma. In that one Dharma, 10 non-virtues continue to be 10 non-virtues, whether you are at the beginning level, the intermediate level, or the advanced level. The 10 non-virtues continue to be the 10 non-virtues. The opposite of the 10 non-virtues, the 10 virtues, continue to be the 10 virtues, whether it's at the beginning level, the intermediate level, and, the advanced level. No difference. The afflictive emotions are afflictive emotions, whether at the beginning level, intermediate level, or most advanced level. How you handle all of this, of course, evolves and changes. But it's not that, the nature of the afflictive emotions changes. That the afflictive emotions cause suffering and pain is true at the beginning level, it's true at the advanced level. That the afflictive emotions lack inherent existence and therefore are the nature, have emptiness as their nature, is true at the advanced level, also true at the beginning level. Yeah, it's not like the afflictive emotions become more and more empty as you become more and more advanced. They don't. If they do, then you are creating emptiness. And we say, no, emptiness is not something we create. It's the way things are. Because things are empty, therefore they can interdependently arise. Because when things are not empty, so this is another of the basic understanding we need to have. Because this word empty, we think it's the same definition as how we use it in our common day-to-day language, in English, in Spanish, in Chinese. But it's not, it's a technical term, right? So here in this technical sense, when things are not empty, then they are, if things were not empty, then they have to be solid, inherently existing. And if they're inherently existing, they cannot change. They cannot modify. So to use a very simplistic example, but to illustrate the point, if eggs inherently exist, that means its nature doesn't change. Or it doesn't change, not nature. Eggs inherently exist, it doesn't change. Flour inherently exists, doesn't change. Water inherently exists, doesn't change. Heat inherently exists, doesn't change. Vanilla inherently exists, doesn't change. Baking powder inherently exists, doesn't change. Baking soda inherently exists, doesn't change. Banana inherently exists, doesn't change. When you put all these things together, you'll never get banana bread. Eggs will remain eggs, water will remain water, flour will remain flour, heat will remain heat, banana will remain banana. No banana bread will ever turn up. Because things lack inherent existence, do not exist permanently, therefore, when you know how to put the different proportions together, they change. Provide the right circumstance. Meaning, don't let Han try to bake this banana bread. Then you will get banana bread. I'm terrible at baking. Nothing ever turns out right when I bake. But you give it to May, I can attest to that. Oh, she'll make wonderful baked goods. Because things do not inherently exist. Therefore, eggs can turn up, can do its magic in a banana bread. Like, wait, where's the egg? Well, you don't see it, but it's there. Now it's something else. So that's a footnote, okay? I know it's not easy, Sometimes we get it and then we forget again, What does it mean when we say, that things are naturally empty? Naturally empty doesn't mean don't exist, Eggs exist, water exists, heat exists, banana bread exists. To say that they're empty is to say that they lack permanent natures. They lack permanence. Because they lack permanence, they can change. Because they can change, we can have banana bread. So back to the original point, right? Even if at the beginning level, the Buddha did not, the beginners cannot understand emptiness and inherent existence. Things still are empty of inherent existence. Afflictive emotions are still empty of inherent existence. Because they are empty of inherent existence, therefore they can be dispelled. Therefore they can be undone. Therefore they can change. They can go from existence to non-existence. So even at the beginning level, afflictive emotions and suffering, they are empty. In the intermediate level, they too are empty. At the advanced level, they are empty. At the beginning level, Buddha qualities are present. In the intermediate level, Buddha qualities are also present. At the advanced level, Buddha qualities are present. So the Dharma is one. There are different turnings from the perspective of sentient beings. So statement 29 basically is talking about this. So if we look at the statement itself, there's one other statement in this chapter, sorry. All the vehicles are ultimately a single vehicle for a single spiritual disposition. So here actually using the word vehicles rather than turnings. Remember we talked about there are 3 turnings of the wheel of Dharma. There are 3 vehicles, right? So here, if you look at the commentary, it says, the exalted one, the Buddha, who is truly, completely awakened in terms of the equality of all phenomena, the oneness, the sameness of all phenomena, meaning their empty nature, possesses no notion of division concerning all the spiritual dispositions and all the vehicles. So from the Buddha's own side, there's no differences. Therefore, the Buddha taught that in the definitive meaning, the cause is a single spiritual disposition. The cause, meaning what allows sentient beings to be free from suffering, it comes from one single spiritual disposition, meaning one single spiritual DNA. Traditional language is family. If you have read Jewel Ornament and Liberation, you see Gampopa talking about the 5 families. The Bodhisattva family, the solitary realizer family, the hearer family, the indeterminate family, and the cut-off family. So Gampopa talks about, that in the sutras you will see mentioned that, sentient beings belong to one of these 5 families. Some of us have the Buddha family or Bodhisattva family. Some of us belong to hearer family, some solitary realizers, some cut off, and some indeterminate. But anyway, in Jewel Ornament, Gampopa says, actually, these are just all skillful means. In the end, there's only one family. And here, it says again, there's only one family. But that word family for us, it might connote different things. So we can say DNA. There's only one type, and a single spiritual disposition, and that is the Buddha family. Even those who awaken as solitary realizers, those who awaken as hearers, they awaken because of this single Buddha family. And therefore, the path is a single vehicle, and the result is a single awakening. It is said in the sutra, the guides have a mind of equality toward all sentient beings. I, the Buddha, have no notion of division whatsoever. If I were to teach a lower vehicle to others, that would incur a fault of stinginess for me. So here is saying, here Buddha is saying, it's not that I go, oh, I only like you that much. I will teach you the lesser vehicle. Oh, you, I like a lot. I will teach you the great vehicle. Oh, you, I really like. I will teach you the indestructible Vajra vehicle. That's not how it is. The Buddha simply teach the Dharma of liberation to all beings. And depending on the maturity of beings, then they will benefit accordingly. And it is said in the Moonlight Sutra, all these beings will become Buddhas. Here is no one who is not a suitable recipient. And so everyone, all beings will eventually become Buddhas. Meaning full and complete Buddhas. Not just solitary realizer Buddhas, not just hearer Buddhas, but complete and perfect Buddhas. As it is said in the Ornament of Clear Realization, since the absolute space of phenomena is undifferentiated, the spiritual disposition is likewise. And it is said in the above mentioned sutra, my nirvana is a single one, my vehicle is a single one, my vehicles are not different. Instead, I ultimately teach the vehicles as a single one. You should understand this as my skillful sphere of activity. And it is said in the White Lotus Sutra, whatever different vehicles the Supreme Beings teach, they are none other than skillful means. There is only a single vehicle and not two, and never three in this world. In order to teach the wisdom of the Buddhas, the protectors of the world came to this world. Their purpose was a single one and not two. The Buddhas did not ultimately teach in terms of the lower vehicles. So-called lower and higher has nothing to do with the Buddhas. And it is said in the chanting the names of Manjushri, concerning the spiritual resolutions of the three vehicles, one will ultimately settle on the result of a single vehicle. Unquote. If one understands this nature, it is taught that one will obtain unfathomable benefits. One will not judge sentient beings as good or bad. One will not be biased against the Dharma. One will quickly attain all-knowingness, and so forth. So this commentary here at the end, in a way you say, so what is the take-home lesson of one vehicle? Well, one will not judge sentient beings as good or bad. Of course, in order to guide and to be of benefit to sentient beings, of course, we need to know, what are causes of happiness and what are causes of suffering. We need to be able to tell, that this person is engaging in the causes of happiness and this person now is engaging in the causes of suffering. So it's not saying that you are not even seeing that you're blind to that. But what it is saying is you don't judge them as good or bad, as if, good or bad are permanent states. If there is a permanent state that is good, that is the Buddha state, but there is no permanent state that is bad. And so you don't judge them as good or bad, even as you guide them. And even as you need that information yourself, so that you're not creating causes of suffering, so that you're not destroying causes of happiness. Yeah? So you will not judge sentient beings as good or bad. And one will not be biased against the Dharma. Right? So meaning then, with regards to the 84,000 Dharmas that the Buddhas taught, and then different traditions, different lineages, might have different emphasis. You're not biased. But here you're not biased, I would say, doesn't mean, you like, I do a little bit of this, 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 little bit of this. And then think, that's called not biased, that's called non-sectarian, that's called Rime. Now, some of us without choice, that's how we start, because we learn a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit here, a little bit there. But over time, you need to know how to consolidate all of this so that it doesn't remain a little bit this, a little bit that, a little bit this, a little bit that. And then especially if you are doing a little bit this, a little bit that, because you say, I don't want to belong to anything. I want to be free. I want to be independent. Okay, that's not really going to work for the long term. Yeah, that's not going to work for the long term, because when things get hard, you go find a little bit somewhere else. And then you will never, kind of break through. Yeah, here say being unbiased with regards to the Dharma, with regards to the 84,000 Dharma, is to be able to naturally kind of more easily and more easily absorb the Dharma, no matter from where they are coming from. You know how to extract what is most helpful. Right? And you have appreciation. Right? You can appreciate. Right? Even when you know, I don't have any use for this understanding right now, but you gain appreciation. This is how it can be beneficial to others. Then good to know, good to learn. Oh, this is how it can be beneficial to others. This is how this way of looking at this issue may not be the way that I think, is the most helpful, but I can see how, that can help them. Even going beyond, the traditional context of Dharma. Oh, this person having so much faith and confidence, in this particular deity, this particular God that they believe in. And by doing that, they become kinder, they become more generous. Oh, that's good for that person. We don't go and destroy their faith. Now, of course, there are some, maybe they believe in things like, if I go, harm people, my God will like this and my God will, reward me. Right? There, is when we say, oh, no, I don't think so. But we need to recognize that, it's kind of unfortunate that they believe that. Then if you're in any position, to actually say something, share something that can help them, then you do. If you cannot, at the very least, I think you have to recognize, no, that's a cause of suffering. Or if they say, oh, my God tells me I'm entitled to revenge. That I don't think we can say, oh, yes, that's part of the 84,000 dharmas. You're like, I don't know. At least you have to say, I don't know. I don't think so. But then be humble to say, well, maybe somehow, I don't know. Doesn't look like, this is one of the 84,000 teachings of the Buddhists, So it's not complete relativity. Yeah, there is a basic set of principles in which both samsara and nirvana similarly is characterized by. And the workings of karmic causality is one of those things that don't change. So that we have to be clear. One will not be biased against the Dharma, and finally, one will quickly attain all-knowingness and so forth. So part of attaining all-knowingness, I think, is also, I believe it's also being, open to seeing how things work for other people. And having that motivation of the reason why I want to know, right? Some of us, we might want to know everything because we like to be in control. And of course, that kind of trying to know everything and learn everything, it will only lead to more confusion and a lot of, noise. But if our attitude in learning everything and understanding everything is related to, if I'm able to do that, I can know more to be of use, to reach out to others, to help others, then that learning becomes part of your bodhisattva practice. So elsewhere, somewhere in the sutras, it says that bodhisattvas should learn everything. Bodhisattvas should be curious about everything. Want to know why? So that it can be figured out, it can be worked into our bag of resources of being useful to others. So one will quickly attain all-knowingness and so forth. Then the last statement, statement 30. Yeah? Statement 130, even listeners, self-realized Buddhas, and those with perverted clinging will attain all-knowingness, will attain omniscience. So this is to elaborate on statement 29. Yeah, this is to elaborate on statement 29. Yeah, so statement 29 says, right? There is only one vehicle. So what are the implications that there's only one vehicle? Well, to make obvious, to make it very obvious, in case you missed the point, then even those who attain already the bodhi, the enlightenment of a solitary realizer or a hearer, actually they don't stop there. Eventually from there, they will continue on to realize complete Buddhahood. Perverted views, perverted clinging. So these are, like you could say, three groups that in other traditions, they say, if you attain any of these three, right, you are stuck, you are finished. Finished in terms of the goal of Buddhahood. So sometimes in Mahayana texts, you will come across things like, be careful, because if you give rise to the motivation of a solitary realizer or a hearer, then you might get stuck in attaining their end result, and you will be stuck there forever. And that would be, really terrible. Mahayana sources will say that. Now, of course, terrible from the perspective of you miss the great opportunity to be a full and complete Buddha. And likewise, they also say, and there is also another danger, which is in a way a complete opposite of this first set of danger. The first set of danger, you attain personal freedom from suffering by achieving either solitary realizer or hearer bodhi. Yeah, personal freedom. Or the opposite problem is you achieve, because of being those who cling to perverted views, you become what's called cut off. Then cut off means you never have any chance to attain freedom. So in Mahayana sources, there is a mention of this kind of cutoff. But here Kyopa says, no, neither the so-called cutoff nor those who attain the other two bodhis will be stuck. They too will achieve complete and perfect Buddhahood. In other words, no one, is ever completely condemned. There's no such thing. We don't accept this. Is what Kyopa is saying. No one is completely condemned. No one is completely hopeless. So that's, like maybe our take-home lesson. So Khenpo Kunpal's commentary. For this reason, even the hearers, the solitary realizer Buddhists, and those with perverted clinging, have the immeasurable Buddha qualities that are without coming together or falling apart, these being the Buddha nature that is without increase and decrease, diminishing or developing. Thus, everyone will arrive at the level of all-knowingness, of omniscience. One should understand this as it is taught in many sutras of definitive meaning and tantras. So in the summary guidance, linking, statements from chapter 8 to other statements, Rinchen Chanchup says, this verse 30 of chapter 1, you should also take into consideration statement 15 of chapter 8, which says, because they have the cause, and they meaning the solitary realizers, the hearers, and those who are cut off, because they all have the cause, they all have the DNA of a Buddha, then they too, it's sort of like you could say, they have the destiny in them already. They too will become Buddhists. No one. Of course, in this grouping here, there are two types of hopeless, There's the hopeless that is not bad at all. There is the hopeless that is hopeless. Those with perverted cutoff roots. Yeah? But both, will become complete, perfect Buddhists. This is to encompass all, and this encompassing all, right? We have to understand it's not the Buddha being like, I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. Sometimes, it sounds like that, Don't hurt my feelings. You have to say, I too have promised. If that is not true, yeah, then the Buddha will be lying just because don't want to hurt your feelings. Buddha says, oh, no, you'll be fine, you'll be fine. That would be lying. No, Buddhas don't lie. So it's not about, I don't want to hurt your feelings, so I'm going to say, oh, you too can achieve what others have achieved. Not out of politeness. Not out of, I don't want people to not like me, to think that I'm mean when I say, no, you're not possible. Not because of that. Yeah, sometimes, I don't know, maybe I'm using examples that is not so good here, or maybe not that fitting. But sometimes, you hear when people say things like, yes, everyone is welcome, but you feel like, nah, you're just saying it because, you want to be liked. You're just being polite, And so then it's not very convincing, But when Buddha says, nobody is ever lost or cut off, either lost in the realm of personal liberation and safety, and therefore I don't care about anybody else, or lost in the sense of, you are so lost that you don't think any kind of freedom, any kind of Buddha qualities is ever possible. So cut off in that sense. Either of those types of seemingly being excluded from the final and only state of freedom, which is the state of a Buddha, even those groups are not excluded. Why? Because we all have this Buddha DNA, this Buddha seed. So we are all part of the Buddha family, the Buddha lineage. So with this, we finish the first chapter of Gongchik. The chapter 1, the vital points of the turnings of the wheel of Dharma. Any questions? Comments? Now, this, I want to say, when we talk about solitary realizers, when we talk about hearers, I feel, in my point of view, I feel that, we have no need to go extend this to, oh, what about other lineages? What about other traditions of Buddhism? What about Theravada? Oh, they believe in attaining like the hearer goal, like the arhats. How does this compare to that? No, there's no need, in my opinion, to compare like that. As in, they have their own system. Yeah, when this system is taught, it is for this particular understanding. So I, when I interact with my Theravada friends, I never think, oh, they are lower. No, what they are striving, is complete freedom as they understand it. Likewise, what I am striving is complete freedom as I understand it, So, in fact, when I compare, I'm only comparing my understanding and their understanding. We're not really comparing, actually, is, the hearer goal a goal that will get you stuck or not? We're not, because we're nowhere, anywhere close to attaining, like literally attaining any of these, So then to fight and to argue, it's pointless. But we do this because now, again, we're exposed to so many different things, And then we think we're comparing apples to apples and oranges to oranges, and Volkswagen with Volkswagen, But often we're just comparing Volkswagen with, Mandarino, Not even apples and oranges. No, we just, all of this, like in the Gongchik, when it talks about, then there are those who think like this, then there are those who think like that. The point is not to go, oh, you think like that, 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 you're wrong like this, you're wrong like that, you're wrong like this, you're wrong like that. The point is to turn it inwards and say, what is pointed as faults here? Do I have those faults? Not, do you have those faults? Do they have those faults? Then that's when we become biased towards the Dharma. So this is medicine for ourselves, antidotes. Our main thing is to overcome, to remove the mental defilements, the afflictive emotions. That in the end, is the only true measure, the true way to measure whether what we're practicing is meant to be how it is practiced or meant how to be used or not. Doesn't matter if you say, I practice Mahamudra, I practice Dzogchen, I practice Advaita Vedanta, all these high and mighty ideas within Buddhism, outside of Buddhism. If they don't diminish the mental defilements, the afflictive emotions, if in your actions of body, speech, and mind, it is still very crude, it is still very coarse, then it's all pointless. The so-called more profound teachings, higher teachings. If it doesn't diminish the mental defilements, if it doesn't diminish the afflictive emotions, if it doesn't free us from the 8 mundane concerns. Of course, freeing ourselves from the 8 mundane concerns doesn't happen overnight, doesn't happen so easily. But if we don't at least become kind of tired and weary of the 8 mundane concerns, at least we need to be tired of that, weary of that, like, oh. And we might still get carried away by the winds, by these 8 winds. We might still get carried away, but at least we have to, develop weariness, tiredness with regards to being constantly blown around by the 8 world mundane concerns. Like, oh man, at the very least, you have to go, this is really exhausting. When can I just stop being tossed and turned around by the 8 mundane concerns? When we begin to have a little bit of that, it goes a long way. Actually, samsara is very fragile. So actually, samsara is very fragile. That's the good news. Bad news? Our habits are relentless. Our habits are very diligent. So diligent in the wrong way. Every time samsara falls apart, our habits send out, maintenance crew immediately, working overtime. Fix it, fix it, fix it. Then the craziness continues. Every time samsara falls apart, immediately, maintenance crew come out. Sweep, 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 clean away, vacuum, make everything look pretty again. So samsara is actually very fragile. But our habits constantly reinforced. So to practice the path, one way of looking at it is to consist of 2 things. Keep noticing how fragile samsara is. Not make it fragile. So this is the same as saying, keep noticing the emptiness of inherent existence in every compounded phenomena. You don't need to go smash any compounded phenomena. They are already compounded, so they are fragile. Keep noticing, keep being present to see how fragile samsara is. Then the other thing to do, this habit pattern, break it. Don't feed it. Or rehabitualize. Habitualize Buddha qualities rather than habitualize afflictive emotions. Reroute this habit. Habit forming is not bad news itself. It's just that this habit forming ability is now only moving in the direction of suffering and confusion. So we have to habituate differently. Habituate it according to the Buddha qualities, the 10 virtues, the 6 perfections, the 10 perfections, the infinite Buddha qualities. Okay. Changchu Sem Chorim Poche Ma Ge Ba Nam Ge Gyu Che Ge Ba Nyam Pa Me Ba Yang Go Ne Gong Du Be War Shou. Bye-bye.
Gracias. Thank you, Dr. Lai.